Let's get to our guest today, Tim Burchett. What do you make of the latest escalation here by Biden? Why is he now allowing Russia to use these long-range missiles, the ATACMS, at this late in the game?
I think it has a lot to do with his mental capability and the people that are advising him. I suspect they're advising him due to their portfolios more than they are common sense. You would think you wouldn't want to escalate something and then hand it off to the next president, especially something like this that could lead, some people are saying, World War III. I don't think it's quite that bad, but somebody infirm ends up shooting a nuclear missile, that could sure put us in a bad position. And now you have with North Korea's involvement, of course, China's always poking around. It could be devastating to us. I've fought against sending any money to Ukraine, as you know. I think we're $200 billion into it. We have no exit policy or exit strategy, so to speak. President Trump said he wants to get us out of there, and I think that's a good thing. We need to shut that war down. We need to start pushing peace more than we do war right now.
You know, I serve on the Armed Services Committee. We've been pushing for months now, if not years, to get this thing over with. And why did Biden wait till now to give Zelensky the armaments they need to actually win this thing, the ATACMS missiles? Those should have been to him much sooner.
I agree. I just think right now it just looks bad. It doesn't look like any real strategy other than you want to leave your place in history thinking that this is going to turn this thing in the next few weeks. And as was noted in the report earlier, that's not enough missiles really to make a difference. And all it's going to do is escalate it. And now with him with the supersonic retaliatory supersonic missile, I think that just pushes us closer and closer into more catastrophic war. And I don't think that does anybody any good except maybe a few of the people at the Pentagon whose livelihood depends on it and some investors. And that's a sorry thing. You know, the president kept saying how much money was coming back to this country due to that investment. And I can't think of any morally more corrupt way to invest your money than at the death of others. And I think that's exactly what's going on here. We need to get Donald Trump can't get in the White House soon enough.
Do you think this will be settled before he gets into the White House?
No, I don't. I think they'll make moves towards it because I know the writing's on the wall, but I just can't see them pulling out. I can't see Europe pulling out. You know, I think Trump's going to use our economic might to shut this thing down. He's going to force Russia's hand with oil and energy because that is our ace in the hole, I think. And I think Ukraine's going to have to acquiesce to those wishes.
Let's talk a little bit about Michael Waltz. He serves with me on the House Armed Services. He's been picked by President-elect President Trump to serve in the cabinet. What do you think about that selection?
I think that's a very good selection. Michael Waltz and I came to Congress together. He's a decorated Green Beret. He's briefed presidents in the past. I think he knows what's expected of him. He's not just he's not eye candy, that's for sure. I mean, he's a good looking guy, but he's not on yours or my. He's not at yours or my status yet, Mark. But he is a true warrior, and he is a war hero. There's no question. And he's a good friend of mine, and I look forward to seeing him in that position because he's been on the ground and he's been in Congress, and he understands the workings in both ways of war and Congress. And I think he will be a great benefactor to President Trump. I don't think he could have picked anybody better.
Well, he has so much on his plate. I mean, look at what's going on with Xi Jinping putting pressure on Taiwan. You have Vladimir Putin and that illicit illegal war against Ukraine, and then the mullahs in Iran continuing to fund terrorism with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, and of course Hamas. There is so much going on. We've been saying for months now the world is on fire, and President Biden has been using a squirt gun when it comes to foreign policy.
A squirt gun at best. I think his mental capacity, you know, you and I have talked about this in the past. It's been come under question for quite some time, and now everybody just knows it. I mean, he's absent. The vice president is nowhere to be seen. The president is not able to make any real decisions. I worry about the people that are making these decisions. Are these some 22-year-old staffers that don't have a clue about what's going on? And I'm afraid that's what we're going to see here. we're not careful, this could cause us some real damage in the world if Biden's people don't just slow down and acquiesce to some other folks.
Let's talk a little bit about the Department of Government Efficiency. I am so glad that this is coming. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy teaming up on this. You're on the Accountability and Oversight Committee. What ways will you be working with them to get the waste, abuse, and fraud out of our government so we can get back on the right track?
Well, looking at all forms of government, the Department of Education, first and foremost. I mean, you and I both know as Christians, the Lord just takes 10% off the top for tithe. The Department of Education takes considerably more before it comes. There's not one, I dare say there's not one bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. in the Department of Education that's ever taught a kid how to read in Kansas or Knoxville, Tennessee, anywhere else. They're bureaucrats. They take billions of dollars off the top. Let's send that money to the states. Let's let the locals decide what to do with that. Same with folks like FEMA, Franklin Graham's organization and some others that are out there. Mountain Strong's another one that's a local organization. They ought to be able to qualify for this money and be able to provide services. People up in North Carolina, I don't represent North Carolina. I've got Tennessee, and none of my areas were really hit bad. But just east of me, they have really hit bad. And you got areas of North Carolina just till like maybe last week that FEMA had not even contacted. So Samaritan's Purse and some of these other groups were already on the ground day one. I think we ought to be able to look at that and say, hey, maybe FEMA doesn't need to go away. It could just be a flow through for this money, but we could decrease the size of that bureaucracy considerably, like the Department of Education. I hope we look at everything. No stone left unturned. We just had up here at ETSU in Tennessee a horrible, they called it art display of they took a American flag and made it into a Ku Klux Klan hat, and then they took the Nazi swastika with the cross, and then they attached something to Speaker Mike Johnson and said something about President Trump. I get the First Amendment. First Amendment's great. I just don't want my dadgum tax dollars paying for it, and that needs to stop. Those are the things we need to look at, and we need to, like NPR. Could you imagine if the federal government sponsored this TV station right now? And that would be correct.
There would be so much public outcry. It would not last 10 minutes.
But I listen to NPR occasionally when I can stand it, and it's for very short periods of time. And it's just an attack on everything I believe in. It's consistently consistent attacks on conservative values, on Christians, on the Republican Party. And, just be neutral. But the government doesn't need to be funding folks like that either. So there's going to be a lot of stuff on our plate. And I hope Congress has the guts to make those cuts.
Hey, we got about a minute left, Tim. When we get back to Congress after Thanksgiving, we've got a lot of work to do. We could be facing another continuing resolution. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would hope we could pass a budget. That's all I hope, is that, we're constitutionally bound to pass a budget, and that we are told to do that, and hopefully at some point we will do that.
Tim Burchett, thank you so much from Tennessee.
You,
what do you got planned for Thanksgiving?
Eat a lot and sleep a lot.
In that order. What are you thankful for, Tim?
I'm thankful for the men and women that fought for this country and allowed us to stay free. And that, my uncle died fighting for this country, and he's buried over in France, and never got the opportunity to see this. A lot of my dad's buddies, and I'm thankful that the sacrifices those people made to keep us free.
Well, Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, thank you so much. Put your Carhartt jacket on, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you back in Washington.
Thank you, brother.